19 years ago today, the students of Columbine didn't march for their lives. They ran as two heavily armed teenage boys stormed in, killing 12 students and a teacher, as this report from National 9 News from that day explains.
It was just before lunchtime when two students wearing black trench coats and masks started spraying bullets throughout the school using a shotgun and a semi-automatic rifle. They also tossed what appeared to be grenades and pipe bombs.
And then you could hear them laughing and running upstairs, and they were shooting anyone of color wearing a white hat or played a sport. And they didn't care who it was, and it was all at close range.
They cruelly taunted potential victims.
I begged him for 10 minutes not to shoot me. He just put the gun in my face and started bleeding everywhere and started laughing, saying that it was all because people were mean to him last year.
Teachers herded students into classrooms, locking doors and barricading them with chairs. They then used mobile phones to call police. 4 separate SWAT units went from room to room, escorting groups to safety. One injured student held a sign up to a window read by a chopper pilot.
It says, "Help, I'm bleeding to death."
Another badly wounded boy made it to a broken window to gesture for help. He was rescued by police who climbed on top of an armoured vehicle. Eventually, police made it to the library, and what they found there horrified them. According to the local sheriff, there were piles of bodies, including those of the 2 gunmen who had apparently committed suicide. These girls escaped from the library and told of the carnage there.
People were getting shot all around me.
There was a guy at a table right next to me and her, and they just shot him and then walked away, and then he was just sitting there in a pool of blood.
As well as the dead, at least 23 students and teachers were injured. Those students who got out unhurt were taken to a nearby school where there were many tearful reunions with parents.
One of those teenagers there that day was Evan Todd, and incredibly he came face to face with the killers in the Columbine High Library and survived. He joins us live now from Denver in Colorado. Good morning to you, Evan. Amazing to believe that it's 19 years ago today. It must bring all of those memories back for you. Now, can you just paint us a picture of what you saw when you really came face to face with those killers? Just paint the picture for us what happened.
Yeah, good morning. 19 years ago, I was in the library at Columbine High School when the 2 entered the school, and when the shots rang out, they entered, they yelled some things, telling kids to get up. They fired in my direction, and that's when I was hit in the lower left side of my back. And as I jumped down, they fired a couple more shots over my head, and shrapnel blew back into my face. It was pandemonium. You could hear people crying and screaming, gunshots just ringing out. And then they walked around the library just shooting at random and throwing pipe bombs and yelling at people, shooting students execution style.
Well, Eric, they put the gun to your head.
Yeah. After a few moments in the library, they walked around to where I was underneath a desk, and one of them came up, kneeled down, and he put a gun to my face and said, "Why shouldn't we kill you?" And I told him, "Look, I've been good to you and everyone in this school, and you know it." And his facial expressions changed. He lowered his gun. He turned to the other one and said, "You can kill him if you want." And they took a moment, looked at each other and said, "Let's get out of here. Let's go to the Commons," which is our cafeteria. And they left at that time.
Evan, how difficult is that for you to talk about today, even still 19, nearly 2 decades on?
It's bizarre because it feels like 1,000 years ago, and it feels like yesterday. You know, and some days are easier than others. You know, obviously, days like today brings back, you know, the anniversary brings back a lot of memories of what happened, and the lives that we lost, and the lives that aren't with us anymore, and the lives that have changed over the years because of what happened that day.
What do you think of the movement that we're seeing in the US at the moment being led by students, considering that, you know, we had just another school shooting today in Florida?
Yeah, you know, the March for Your Lives movement in the States is, it's not a movement that I stand behind or support. It's, I question whether it's run by students, because I've been doing this for 19 years, trying to get the message out that, you know, the heart and the soul is the real issue here, not guns. And I know how hard it is to organize, you know, a movement. There's a lot of money and a lot of people helping them, and it's, you know, it's frustrating to see that they're going after a political point.
But you can't deny that the anger of these students is real, Eric.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt their anger is real. I mean, they've grown up since Columbine, you know, hearing the debate over Columbine, whether it was the guns or bullying or whatnot, and so this is what they were raised to, how to react to a situation like this. And I don't discount their anger, sadness, or what they went through, because I know what they went through. I discount their position and their ideology.
So what do you believe? I mean, does America go forward with this? Are you a fan of teachers having their own guns, having their own weapons?
I am. You know, that's a huge issue in the States. Is school zones are gun-free zones. 92% of the shootings in the United States that have happened since the 90s have been in gun-free zones of these mass murders. People that carry out these acts are targeting unarmed, unprotected people, and I think that America needs to repeal the Gun-Free Zone Act and allow teachers to carry on campus. They're not disarmed when they go to the grocery store. They're not disarmed when they go to church, but when they go to school, they have to disarm themselves.
But Evan,
and
just very, very quickly,
deterrent.
because you have a 3-month-old son yourself, is this the world you want your son growing up in, where teachers are forced to carry weapons?
Oh no, absolutely not. I don't think teachers should be forced. I wouldn't ask a teacher that's not comfortable to carry. I'm just saying that, look, 8% of Americans have carry concealed weapons permits. They've done training. They've taken the classes. They've been licensed. I'm just asking that those teachers that have already gone through all that carry those permits, should be allowed to protect their lives and the lives of their students. That's what I'm advocating for in that instance.
But I think, Evan, that the fundamental problem that the United States has is that there's just too many guns out there. So if you give teachers, or if you give people weapons, then research has shown that that's only just going to lead to even more violence.
Well, I disagree with that. You know, you look at, well, since Port Arthur, the reduction of firearms in your country, and there's been a slight reduction in crime in Australia. Likewise, through the same time period, America has seen a very similar reduction in crime rates in America, and we've doubled gun ownership and the amount of guns that Americans own.
Well,
so
look,
the correlation
Evan, I think we have to sort of agree to disagree on that one. But what we do appreciate is your time this morning, and the fact that you are speaking to us after what happened to you at Columbine all those years ago. So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. No, thank you.
Well, this week, Ipswich City Council